Hi, I'm Chris. This isn't going to be your ordinary camper van build. No, we're not going to build a pristine, white-walled, perfect van. You see, I want to build a home away from home. We're going to build my dream cozy cabin on wheels. We're going to Van's Warped Tour, and we didn't book a hotel, and this AC unit must be installed.
No, it's not going to go.
Okay, if we get the AC unit installed, we need the floor, electric, and some sort of enclosure. So let's go. Alright, so this is the van. We need to clean up and throw out all this stuff. So the previous owner created this makeshift living quarters, fit with a twin-size bed, a DIY-friendly cabinet, and this diesel heater, which does have holes through the floor. With Layla done inspecting the van, let's get started. And I personally don't think Tara and I are going to fit on that twin-size mattress, so let's go ahead and tear out everything and give it a clean slate. Not only did the previous owner use this as a living quarters and a work van, but it was neglected. With the easy tracks removed, I didn't know I was in for a surprise, but upon removing the plywood, I was shocked. You see, I found something that would delay the build, something I was not expecting. Not good. Not good. The floor was rusting through, something nobody looks forward to. There are even holes through the floor. But guess what? I've dealt with rust before, so I'm not afraid. With all the loose stuff removed, van cleaned, we can truly see all the rest I need to repair. So I grabbed my grinder and got to work. I just worked out and my arm keeps cramping. Ugh. Every single rust spot got grounded down by me and my grinder. Either way, I got some Rust-Oleum, rust preventative, so I'm gonna, paint this whole floor pan with this, and then fiberglass over the holes over here, and my goodness, the holes was worse than I expected. When I was sanding it down, check it out. All over the place, that's just fantastic. Now with Tara's help, some paint, and some fiberglass, we need to cover up every single rust hole and bolt hole that the previous owner created. Alright, I've done this in the Astra van and I'm going to do it here as well. It worked very well then, so it will work just fine now. Step 1, cut out some fiberglass. Step 2, go ahead and grab some paint and lay it on thick. Then go ahead and layer on the fiberglass, then paint right over that fiberglass. And since this was a rust hole, we're doing 2 layers. With all the holes covered up, it's now time to paint the whole floor and make it look new once again. I am extremely happy that we just tackled that job and got it done. Fiberglass, the holes, every single hole in the van. Besides that, I'm probably gonna keep the heater there. Think about that later. I just wanna get the floorboard down so I can work on the electrical. That's the most important. I wanna get to electrical. I'll be using the original floor as a template for the new floor, and I'm throwing it back in to make sure I like all the measurements. And after identifying all the fine tweaks I want to make, it's time to go ahead and start. Since we're doing a floating floor with zero framing, we are going to be using sanded pine or BCX sanded pine from Lowe's. The interior space measured out to be 6 foot by 12 feet, so we need 3 sets of plywood and 3 sets of insulation. Using the original floor as template, I went ahead and traced around the entire floor, making sure I keep in mind all the fine tweaks. Plywood subfloor looks pretty dang good. Fits pretty tight. Exactly what I'm going for. I'm very happy with this. All right, let's do it. Home Depot and Lowe's both have their own version of this polystyrofoam foam board, except Home Depot is just more environmentally friendly, so that's why I chose this one. It is 1 inch thick, giving me an R5 value. So I just scored it with a box knife and just broke it off. Pretty easy. I opted for vinyl sheeting for 2 big reasons. 1, it's cheap, and 2, it's easy to install. Well, and my third reason is that it actually looks pretty good, and it's 100% waterproof. Another bonus is that if it gouges or there's holes in it, or we get tired of it, we can just add vinyl planks over in the future. So with the vinyl rolled out, we placed the BCX plywood upside down on it and trace it out. Then we finally cut it out with a pair of scissors, and oh boy, was that satisfying. We need to waterproof the plywood, at least the bottom of it, and we will be using polyurethane for that. Not looking for perfection, just a full coat on the entire back and edges. Now it's time to just let that set and dry, and move on to sound deadening the entire floor, because we want a nice quiet ride. Something like that looks good. Wow. The foam fits perfectly on the floor of the van. Now we're going to go ahead and glue it down. We're going to get a caulk gun for that. Caulk gun is right there. The glue we're using is PL300 by Loctite. You want to make sure you get glue made for a foam board. We glued down the plywood the exact same way. Now it's time to get some Robert 6700 and roll down the vinyl. Rolling it on, rolling it on. With the vinyl fully rolled out, it's time to go ahead and weigh it all down to make sure it adheres perfectly. Every heavy item that I have is weighing down this floor. All the parts that's going to fix this van, or fixing the van, and the batteries that are going to be part of the electrical system. 300 amp hours each, 2 of them. And it's time to spray foam all the gaps in the floor. And then we'll be back in 24 hours. What a transformation. We went from this to this, to this, to this. But do you remember this rust? You see, the next day I came into the van and we had all these water spots all over the floor. Not a good thing. I looked up and there it is, water dripping from the ceiling. And this definitely had me concerned, so let's go ahead and check out the issue. So I grabbed my trusty ladder and made my way up there. And to my disbelief, every one of these mounts that holds on a roof rack is rusted on all 8 mounting spots. Although this looks pretty bad, I put on my gloves, put on my headphones, and grabbed my grinder. For whatever reason, there's gaps on both sides on this one. Not that good. Now let's go to wipe it down with isopropyl alcohol, and then after getting it to bare metal, I sprayed on Rust-Oleum primer, then using Silkaflex 221 to cover up all the gaps. This stuff is flexible, it will last better than OEM stuff. And more the merrier, guys. When you're done, go and smear it all over with your fingy. And of course, my beautiful wife is always here to help. I'm one lucky fella. When the Silkaflex is all dry, we can go ahead and spray it down with white paint. And of course, I had to do this 7 more times. The process is relatively easy, it's just time consuming because we have to wait and keep things clean. And what a relief, this roof is in such better shape and should test the time. And now it's time for the hardest part and the most time consuming part of the build thus far, the electrical. This is multi-weeks of prep and building. But before we can even tackle the electric, let's quickly build the enclosure. We have here 3 sheets of 4x8 radiata pine. It's a nicer piece of wood compared to BCX ply, except it's just not as hard, and that's fine. So we start off with sanding it. Then we did a water-based stain. We wanted a warmer, cozy look. And not only will this just be an enclosure for the electrical, it's also going to be a bench and bed setup. I got my crack jig and pocket hold for the rest of my life. Now with both the cabinets built out, it's time to polyurethane them and protect them.
Like that.
And with the final brush stroke, we can start with the electrical.
Do the holes too.
That's good.
And this is 600 amp hours of battery, and I'm hoping it'll blow myself up. One small error can literally fry the entire system. In step 1, we need to install my big, thick wire. This wire is 2/0 wire, is big, thick, and expensive, just like the entire project. I'm not an electrician, I'm not going to act like I am, so I'm not going to go in full depth on how I installed this, but I will have a separate video digging deep on how exactly I did on my other channel. And each one of these batteries are 300 amp hours. They were tested and tried by one of the battery gurus of YouTube, and they were in fact 300 amp hours each in the smallest casing you can find, and they were also one of the cheapest batteries I could find. After going through full depletions and full charges of the batteries for a couple times already, they have not missed a beat. This was the cheapest inverter and converter I could find. It is pretty big, but it was definitely worth it. The very first thing I had to do was create this diagram. Then following the diagram pretty accurately, I had to install all the wires. I installed a battery monitor because that is a must in my book. This is a 50 amp DC to DC charger. It charges the battery using solar and the alternator. Speaking of which, these are the wires that go to the alternator. They were pretty thick boys. For extra security, I installed a 60 amp fuse between the DC charger and the battery. The cables were routed underneath this wheel well on the driver's side because the battery is literally at the feet of the driver. So this is the leftover wire from the 20-foot 2-gauge wire. But here it is. It goes from underneath the chair. So this is the fuse. It's gonna be a floating fuse right here. It's pretty secure. Goes into this positive here. Then a negative attachment right there. After drilling a 4-inch hole for more verticalization for the DC to DC charger, it's now time to cut out a big old hole for the fuse panel. The fuse panel is going to be about 8 inches above the ground because I'm going to put a false floor underneath it. This is by far the best apple juice. If you haven't had it, you gotta try it out because it's the best. This front piece is removable just in case for a future, so I'm installing it into the cabin. And the 120 volt and 12 volt fuse panel fits perfectly. Then measure out the perfect spot to install the charger plug and cut that out with about a 2-inch hole. Oh, there's a receipt for this bumper, or the, that's so funny. How did I cut that out perfectly? That's so hilarious. Push through the cord that I'll be charging the whole van. And did the same thing on the other side, but instead, this isn't charging the van, this is actually power out. And the cord is snaked through the fender, down below, and up a little gap within the van. So I went ahead and connected this 12 gauge wire into that power out plug from the outside. Routed that to the fuse box and installed it to the appropriate breaker. And with the rest of the breakers also installed, it's time to put on the lid. And just knowing with the one small mess up I could possibly kill myself, it was a bit scary. But with the final touches coming together, it was time to screw down the batteries and see if all this hard work paid off. Check it out. I did electrical. Whoa. I'm just breezing through the installation because it's pretty self-explanatory. I got a whole roll of 3-inch insulate, which is probably one of the top of the line installations that you can get for your van. It's waterproof, it's mold proof, and it is also fireproof. So we cut them all into individual pieces, stuffed in all the doors, all the crevices, all the cracks, and we also sounded in the roof before we installed the insulate on because we want a cozy rainy night without it waking us up. And I want to give a huge thank you to Van Camp for sending us these window shades. They are pretty dang top notch. And then we got the 2 passenger doors as well. And they are using 3M insulate, which is the same stuff we put on the walls of the van, which is pretty high quality. Oh my gosh, that was so satisfying. I didn't expect it to just clip right on. All right, and then we can pull this down. Am I too happy about this? Like, what the heck? At first I was skeptical about this big piece doing the big windshield, but it came on pretty dang perfectly and nice snug fit. And if you want to check these out, I'll have them linked down below for your convenience. Pretty dang dark in there. And now it's time for what we've all been waiting for. The AC unit. It's in a big box. It's very heavy. It's time to install it. Foam, brackets, hardware, and the plastic piece that goes on the inside. This is the larger 12 volt unit that you can get. It's 11,500 BTUs, which if you have the 2500 Ram Promaster or 3500, you probably want that size as well. Right on the beam line. Here we go. Okay, we got our holes. Let's go cut the bigger hole. I really have no clue why everyone's like, oh, the scariest part, cutting a hole in the van. I wasn't too scared. I don't know. Now you could use a jigsaw. That would be perfectly fine. I just like the grinder a bit better. I have both, but I like the grinder. And then I grabbed some paint to protect the metal because we don't want this thing rusting, do we now? Okay, let's see how we do this. Now, if I haven't already said this yet, this is a 2-person job. No way around it. This thing is heavy. Are you going?
No, it's not gonna go. Okay.
Okay, you ready? You gotta grab that side. This is heavy here. Okay, then we need to get over then. You ready? Okay. Oh, good job. Nice job. Okay, and it's installed. It said it was 0% rain. That's just great. I definitely recommend test fitting the unit, and thank goodness I did, because I had to make some clearance for one of the bolts. This bolt right here, and it was as easy as grinding down that metal, and it was good to go. This is the gasket it came with, and it has a pretty sticky side on the bottom. And now it's as easy as just attaching it to the roof. I mean, there's these little spacers that you want to go ahead and trim up as we go. Like if they land on a ridge, you want to go ahead and cut it straight in half. And you want to continue to bend this around each and every corner. And this is going to be most likely too long of a gasket for your roof or your hole. So you want to cut it, make sure that both seams line up perfectly and it has pressure to each other. You do not want this thing to leak. So then I went ahead and got some roof and flashing and sealed every single crevice. I am not going to have this leak. Here we are. I've got a pretty smooth transition on the inside, and outside looks pretty dang good, I think. Secure, water should not get in through here. Oh man, guys, we're on the home stretch. We're almost there. Okay. All right. Let me know, I can't see it. The wire's going in the right spot?
I think so.
About
I
to.
can't really see it.
Okay, I'm going in. Is that it?
I can't see the wire, but yeah.
Yeah, the wire's exactly where it needed to be.
Okay, cool.
So we got a longer bolt and a shorter bolt. We're using the shorter bolt for our roof. That's not going anywhere. We are on the home stretch. Just need to connect this wire to my power system. And at $12,270 later, here we are. Milestone after milestone has been met. Building a van I really didn't think I could build from the very beginning. Fixing the rusty floor, building the floating floor, fixing the rusty leaky roof, building the enclosures, the electrical, and now the AC. Of course, I need to give a huge shout out to OutEquip as well for sending this out for me. It's set to 68 degrees. It's already getting cold. Fantastic. Next video, we are installing all electric, the sink, the ceiling, and even the shedder. Links to everything will be linked down below. See you next time.